Today, let's talk about the recent suicide bombing at a Syrian church near Damascus. The news is both heartbreaking and alarming.
Absolutely. The attack reportedly killed at least 13 people, which is tragic. It's shocking to see a place of worship become a target.
Churches are meant to be sanctuaries, safe places for reflection and community. Why do you think extremists target such locations?
I think it's about symbolism. Attacking a church sends a chilling message, not just to the local community, but to the world.
It really does. And considering Syria's history of religious diversity, such attacks threaten the fragile social fabric even more.
That's true. After years of civil war, every act of violence deepens mistrust and fear. I wonder how survivors cope with this trauma.
I can't imagine. The sense of loss must be overwhelming, especially for families who lost loved ones during a religious service.
There's something especially cruel about targeting people while they're worshiping. It's almost like attacking hope itself.
Yes, and I heard that the church was crowded because of a special event. That made things even worse.
Right. It's a reminder that perpetrators often choose moments when the impact will be most devastating.
Have you noticed that these attacks sometimes seem intended to provoke retaliation or more violence?
Definitely. It often feels like the goal is to sow chaos, to keep communities divided and fearful.
But why would anyone want to perpetuate that cycle? What could possibly be gained from such ongoing violence?
Sometimes extremist groups use terror to gain attention or push political agendas. It's a twisted way to demand relevance.
The international reaction has been swift, with many leaders condemning the attack. But do you think words are enough?
Words help, but real support matters more, like humanitarian aid, security, and rebuilding efforts for the affected community.
Speaking of rebuilding, I wonder how the church community will recover. Rebuilding a building is one thing, but trust is harder.
That's such a good point. Restoring faith, in both senses, takes time and collective effort. It's not just bricks and mortar.
I read that local volunteers are already helping with cleanup. It shows resilience, but I worry about the psychological scars.
Trauma like this lingers. Survivors might struggle with fear, nightmares, or even guilt for having survived.
Mental health support in conflict zones is always limited too. People are left to cope on their own far too often.
And yet, sometimes communities come together in remarkable ways after tragedy. Shared grief can lead to solidarity.
That's true. I remember stories from other attacks where neighbors of all faiths showed up to help each other.
It's an important reminder that extremism doesn't represent the wider community. Most people just want peace.
Exactly. But I do wonder, how do these incidents affect the wider perception of Syria around the world?
Sadly, they reinforce the image of a country in chaos. It can overshadow the daily resilience and hope that many Syrians show.
That's unfortunate, because there's so much more to Syria than violence, rich culture, history, and strong people.
Maybe international media needs to balance coverage, highlighting stories of hope along with the tragedies.
I agree. At the same time, we can't ignore the pain of those affected. Their stories deserve to be heard.
Absolutely. Giving voice to survivors can be empowering, both for them and for listeners everywhere.
What do you think governments or NGOs can do to help prevent attacks like this in the future?
Stronger security is key, but so is addressing the root causes: poverty, radicalization, and lack of opportunity.
Prevention sounds simple, but it's so complicated in practice, especially in regions still recovering from war.
True. And sometimes, focusing on youth programs or education can make a difference over time.
It's like planting seeds. Results aren't immediate, but they're essential for long-term peace.
I like that analogy. It's a slow process, but every small step counts.
Do you think international attention fades too quickly after tragedies like this?
Often, yes. There is an initial outpouring of sympathy, then the world moves on, but the affected community is still hurting.
Maybe part of our responsibility is to keep these stories alive, remind people that rebuilding takes time.
And to encourage support, not just in the aftermath, but for months and years to come.
I hope listeners today are reminded to look beyond the headlines, to the real people and stories behind them.
Me too. Tragedies like this are a call to empathy, not just for Syrians, but for all who suffer from violence.
Before we wrap up, is there anything that gives you hope in situations like this?
The resilience of ordinary people. Every time communities come together after tragedy, it's a small victory over hate.
That's beautifully said. Maybe the true power lies in not letting fear and anger define our responses.
Exactly. Responding with compassion is the best way to honor those lost and to reject the aims of the attackers.
As we close, let's remember the victims and consider what we can do, no matter how small, to support peace.
And maybe ask ourselves, how can we help make places of worship and the world safer for all?
That's a question worth pondering. Thanks for joining us in this important conversation.
Thank you. And let's keep these stories and the hope for peace alive.